a new mom with their baby bag, they'll have like 35 things in the baby bag. And then a mom with two kids will have like two diapers and some wet wipes, you know? It's crazy how when you actually have like other people to like bounce real people to bounce things off of, they give you way better insight than of course a corporation just wants your money, you know, and they'll use whatever line they can.
This is Raising Mama, a hilariously honest podcast dedicated to unveiling the hidden realities of motherhood.
Our goal is to arm you with the information and tools you need to be your most confident and empowered self.
This podcast is packed with unfiltered testimonies, diverse perspectives, and expert opinions, along with a good dose of laughter and tears.
Leading you on this journey is my best friend, Megan Stander, who is a CEO, passionate maternal health advocate, and mom of two daughters.
Alongside me is my best friend, Chelsea Ledson, who is a mother, wife, and registered nurse with her master's specializing in women's health. Let's try to raise the next generation
by raising up mamas
and maybe raising a little hell.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, mamas.
Welcome back to Raising Mama.
So on today's episode, we have lactation counselor and a member of the Radical Moms Union, Andrea Haskins. Andrea has been a long-standing maternal health advocate and is part of the growing online movement of radical mothers who are fighting to stop exploitation of motherhood by corporate America. On today's episode, Andrea will discuss the predatory marketing schemes that corporations have used and continue to use to get women to buy products that are potentially harmful or otherwise completely unnecessary for women as they enter motherhood. This episode truly blew my mind. You cannot believe the crap America gets away with. So tune in and let's uncover the dark side of motherhood marketing campaigns.
Boy, this is a juicy, juicy subject. Well, I'm really excited that we have you, Andrea, and I just wanted to ask straight off the top. I thought it was kind of interesting when I first spoke to you on the phone. I never thought of moms as like an at-risk community or someone that was like being exploited. But kind of when I was like hearing you speak, I was like, oh yeah, like we are an easy target group. But in your own words, why would you say that maybe new moms are easy for companies to target and take advantage of in the first place?
Well, through my own, journeys with motherhood, I think like when you put together your registry and it's very exciting and, we all love to do it, but I just think like I made my platform instinctual mothering because I was so bombarded with like what's the right thing to do, right? Like I just need an answer. What's the right thing to do in motherhood? And I felt like I was very disconnected to my instincts, and especially when you're postpartum, especially first time moms, and you're up in the middle of the night and your baby won't sleep and you're just googling what can I do to make this baby sleep, or what's wrong with my baby, I was very much like a solution oriented person, and I still am. So when I have a problem, like I'm on Amazon being like, what's my solution? Please tell me what to do. So I think a new mom, when they're disconnected from their instincts, when they're sleep deprived, and when they're just searching for the right solution, they can become very vulnerable.
I think that's true. Megan, what do you think's like one thing you bought that after you've realized was like super ridiculous to buy? I definitely have some things. I'm just curious.
Yeah. First off, like I would agree that first thinking about an at-risk community, I wouldn't immediately come up with new moms. But then if you were to flip the question, be like, what are some very like desperate feeling groups of people? I would be like, oh, new moms, definitely feeling desperate. So, like I think that, I bought a ton of stuff. I, I, I thank Amazon's return policies because I did return a lot of stuff. And I think that you can kind of like, get your power back in that sense by like, all right, if I'm going to click and buy, then at least I can return it. But there's definitely some stupid stuff that I bought. But, on the surface, like it didn't seem stupid at the time. It's just that a
Yeah.
lot of stuff ended up not working for my baby specifically. And then I had to send it back. Like things that were meant to or seemed to be one size fits all ended up not being one size fits all, like at all. So, you know,
Yeah, I felt like for me, I bought a bunch of different things to carry my baby in, and like 99% of the time, I just used my arms. And I was like,
yeah.
why do I have all these things to like place my baby in when they're just chilling in my arms 90% of the time? Or I used like one holder, but that was definitely my like thing that I overly stressed out about. Andrea, did you like buy anything that you felt like was just totally useless when you were a first time mom?
Oh my god, yeah. Like everything. So many different swaddles. So many different swaddles. Um, gas drops, that sort of stuff. Um, which none of that has any really like evidence for, especially like the Milacon drops or like the tummy troubles. So I could definitely see how easily when you're so desperate, you would literally buy anything to make your baby sleep longer, or like, what is wrong with my baby? He's in pain. Maybe there's something that will make things better. Like moms, especially when you're getting very little sleep and then you're lacking the support in other areas. It's like this capitalist attitude, like, let's just replace everything we need as moms with a product
Yeah.
and everything will be perfect. Product for everything.
And that's
Yeah.
something we talk about all the time is how we're missing the tribe. Like for so long, people raised kids in this like more tribal way with many, many women around. And it's like we're trying to make up for our
Yeah, like
tribe as
replace tribe
humans.
with product.
And it doesn't work that way. You know, it just doesn't. And probably if you had a good mentor to like be with or, has have mom friends, you'd be like, oh, I only need five things. Or the typical thing too, right? A new mom with their baby bag, they'll have like 35 things in the baby bag. And then a mom with two kids will have like two diapers and some wet wipes, it's crazy how when you actually have like other people to like bounce real people to bounce things off of, they give you way better insight than of course a corporation just wants your money, and they'll use whatever line they can. And it just sucks that like we're reaching towards a corporation to guide us who doesn't care about moms at all. But anyway, before I go too far into it, like what are some examples of some of the more like harmful campaigns that you've come across, in your work?
So, well, I'll talk about one personally first, was like the sleep training industry. And I know you guys just had an episode on that. That's actually how I found you.
Mm.
And that's basically what inspired me to make instinctual mothering, because I felt kind of bamboozled by the pressure to separate from my child and the assumption that a mother and a child's needs are at odds, right? That they're dichotomous. We see a lot of this attitude online where it's like, the mom's mental health matters, and believe me, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but I disagree with the notion that the baby and the mother's needs and mental health are like at war with each other or dichotomous in some way. So at Rad Moms Union, that's basically what we advocate for, is mother baby is one, we're the dyad, and we are against anything corporate forces that kind of try to separate mother baby. Sleep training is one industry. Formula industry is another. So I started to look into more about the formula industry and like the history behind it and how they've taken advantage of mothers. As far back as, we actually have, we're supposed to have regulations on how formula is advertised, but it's called the World Health Organization Code for Breast Milk Substitutes. However, the United States does not adhere to those. Like every other country, besides I think New Zealand, has it put in law that you're not supposed to advertise formula to the public, but the United States does not. And that those rules were the result of something called the Nestle formula scandal in the 70s, I believe,
Hmm.
where Nestle had women dress up as nurses. Like these were like formula reps, just like pharma reps, which there still are formula reps today that like go into doctor's office and stuff. It's no different than like a pharma rep. So they had the women dress up as nurses and go to third world countries and like sell the formula for all intents and purposes. Sell the formula, but the problem is in developing countries, they might not have money to continue to buy the formula, and they also might not have clean water. So as a result, many babies died, and it was this whole thing, obviously horrible situation. So that's why they made the formula code. However, US does not adhere to that. So I'm seeing more modern forms of formula advertising online. Like I said, pitting the mother and baby against each other instead of it being mother baby together.
That was like my biggest question is cuz I've been in e-commerce. I've been the big bad wolf like for so long. Like that has been my background. And so I have the like business owning, understanding marketing like side of it. And it's tough because it's like, in order to sell a product, you have to understand the customer. And we do live in a capitalistic society and stuff, but like, where do we draw the line on like what is rolls eyes capitalist marketing and what is like truly harmful? I think that you said it really well though, that like if you think of mother baby as a dyad, and if there's any specific marketing that's trying to like separate the two, that is when it becomes dangerous, for lack of a better word. Am I like understanding that correctly?
Well, I mean, that's not the only issue I have with it. Like with formula marketing, there's three kind of prongs as to why it's unethical. And one of them is you have a product that affects public health. So that's why there's regulations on it,
Mhm.
similar as to what there would be like on tobacco. Obviously, like the two are not, like, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying like formula and cigarettes are equal, but it's a product that has regulations around the advertising surrounding it. Second is moms want to breastfeed in the US. There's an 83% start rate for breastfeeding, meaning they want to breastfeed. And then at 6 months in the US, it drops to 25%. So that's like a huge lag. And okay, so that's like a 60 something difference. There's absolutely no way physiologically 60% of women can't breastfeed, right? Like, no, it's somewhere around, like, it's hard to say. Older textbooks will say like less than 5%. Even if we're generous, maybe like 10 to 15% of women can't physically breastfeed. So we're talking about like 15% versus like 60, right? So there's this huge chunk of women who wanted to breastfeed and didn't. And you're just throwing away their wishes and desires and telling them it doesn't matter, fed is best. Who cares if you breastfeed your kid, whatever all the phrases, you can't tell in a kindergarten class which are breastfed and those silly phrases that invalidate
Mhm.
the mom's wishes and desires instead of supporting her in her desire to breastfeed. I feel like it's presented as just like a band-aid option. And then the third reason why it's problematic is because there's formula shortages.
Mhm.
And that's no good either, because then you can't feed your baby. So I wouldn't want a corporation to make a mom dependent on a product and then the mom not be able to get that product.
Right.
Totally. And I know for sure that even the people in your like radical group, plenty of them use formula. It's not like you're saying you have a thing against people using formula. It's just
Yeah.
more of companies truly not having women's best interest in mind, and they're just trying to
Or
push,
babies.
or babies, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just pushing to push, and it's like there's
Mhm.
huge ramifications for pushing certain products which is why everywhere but the US makes certain, sanctions around them. So it's really quite fascinating because I would have never thought about this ever, but it's crazy when you put your brain to it that like why? Like why would they make such a public health commodity just so like free and loose, and you're totally right. It's like women are very susceptible, and there is a lot of that like advertising of just, like like separating, like, oh my gosh, you got to get your sleep, you got to get your, prioritize getting your brain back online and get your time back. And it's like everything's about, if you just kind of take this product, it's going to save your life, even if it means separating you and your baby. Versus like America does not, like, what could help you breastfeed? Like, let's do a longer maternity leave. Like, let's do some free childcare. Like, let's give you a doula to enter your house. Like, we so go away from the things that can help support and sort of the things that can kind of get women, get people back into working full time, going back, separating, right? Because it's really hard to be a mom and breastfeed and be maybe working at a corporation 40 hours and trying to pump. Like those things are so hard to do. So it's just, I wish we had more support for people who do just want to stay at home or breastfeed or do some of the more natural things we've been doing for a long time. But that's me off
So,
my.
so I have a question about Bobby specifically, because when I first learned about Bobby, I was like, I mean, I kind of drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, oh wow, like they look so cool and like forward. So like, what? It's getting sneakier, right? So like, what's the difference between Bobby and like a bigger formula brand? Because I feel like a lot of listeners probably don't have anything against Bobby right now.
Yeah, they're pretty effective, aren't they,
Yeah, they are.
with their marketing? They want to come across as the cool girl, and they're just two moms making formula. So Bobby came online at 2021 World Breastfeeding Week with a huge ad in the Times that said, how's breastfeeding going, with the breast crossed out. So right out of the gate, they have positioned formula and breastfeeding moms against each other, which we are not. Like you said, we have formula moms in Rad Moms Union. We have moms that just get it, that don't want other moms to be taken advantage of. We never want it to be formula versus breastfed moms or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But these companies are positioning themselves as non-judgmental and supportive in order to sell their product, and paint lactation advocates as judgmental and, pushy and rude, when, you know, that's just not true. They had a bunch of archetypes, I guess, that would choose formula feeding, including a gay dad and a mom with breast cancer. So the implication is that like lactation advocates are shaming those individuals, which is not the case at all. Like, hello. Yeah, if you don't have boobs, you can't breastfeed. I don't think anyone has ever said you're a bad mom because you had breast cancer and can't breastfeed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, that's wild if someone said that. So, right out of the gate, they've been degrading breastfeeding and forming this mommy war um, since they came on the scene. And then they just continued with the misinformation regarding, like I said before, pitting moms' needs and babies' needs against each other in order to sell their product. So, I mean, if a mom wants to make a decision to formula feed, for whatever reason she wants, that's great. I just wish for her not to get her information from people that are going to
Right.
profit off of whatever decision
Mhm.
that she makes. Like a huge food conglomerate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You asked how they're different than the old school brands. They still use, like Abbott, Nestle, like Similac, those ones who own like Similac and Enfamil. They have contracts with the federal government. The federal government is actually their biggest customer because they give it to WIC, they don't have to worry about marketing as much as Bobby or a smaller formula brand. So occasionally you will see like an influencer do like a Gerber ad or something, but these new companies like Bobby are very digital savvy and have they actually don't even need we saw on LinkedIn one of the employees say that they actually had they turned off paid advertising because their influencer marketing campaign was so successful.
Mm.
So they're now presenting just like any other product you would buy from an influencer, like even though they do use hashtag ad, it's more integrated into our motherhood space online. It's like you watch your favorite influencer and she's having a can of Bobby. It's like, yeah, we combo feed, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I also am using this concealer. So it's just like it's all meshed in.
Mm-hmm.
And you as a new mom might not even realize like that's an ad. And they're just getting like very good at the new influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And they were so good that they actually had a shortage of their formula this summer. I don't know if it's still going on, but it's just become a lot more insidious and them acting like they're the cool girl and they're just mom owned, but really they are backed by a bunch of male investors. Um, this is a Silicon Valley investor funded company and they're putting on the facade like they're just two non-judgmental moms. And
Right.
every time you stop breastfeeding because of one of these ads, you're making these dudes money.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, and like, because I understand how all those ads work, and this is just like the perspective for me is like when I see their ads, I can tell what they're doing, but I just kind of want to like I guess explain how much choice these corporations have, because when you put an ad together, for one, like, even the stuff that the influencers are doing, the stuff that they're saying, okay, sometimes some of it might not be scripted, but they are for sure given talking points, and those talking points are based on testing that they have done through advertising. Like, they're not just throwing out random information into the abyss, because they're spending money still on the influencers, I'm sure. And they've spent money on the paid advertising, so they're testing stuff. And the other thing is that they're not just trying to attack one audience. I'm sure that they've got, an audience for same sex, or like, yeah, like gay couples, and they have an audience for people that like biologically like can't breastfeed, and that they're attending to those, and those are not the audiences where we have like the main concerns. But they are also targeting, I'm sure, within their back end of their marketing team, they have set up quite literally an audience for moms that are on the fence, moms that like maybe they're working moms, or maybe they're just like, didn't have the easiest time, or maybe they don't have access to like a lactation counselor, or they're just, yeah, they're on the fence. And I guarantee you that all of that is highly intentional, and that the scripts that they've given, or the talking points that they've given to these influencers, involve targeting them specifically. So I guess, like, I don't know. I feel like if people like didn't understand how all of that worked, and how all of it is so highly, 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 highly intentional, because money is involved, and because that's also the only way for things to be like effective. You can't just like throw out a message and hope people catch it. But you do have a choice to not target those people. You do have a choice.
Mhm.
So I mean, I feel like it would be like I don't even know. Like the other kind of at-risk group that I think about when I think about new moms is like moms with PPD. Like
Mm.
that would be, uh, I feel like so unethical to like specifically target moms with PPD because they're like really desperate, you know. But who knows? Like who knows what kind of campaigns they have set up there in the back end, you know? But I see it like when I go and look at their ads, you can go to their ad library and like look at them and it's like it's very obvious what's going on. Like some of them seem okay. I'm like, all right, and then the others, I'm like, that is sketchy. You know?
That's what's so scary about just our modern age is like truly social media is in its wild, wild west stage. Like there is no rules, there is no regulation. And at least before, when you were getting marketing, even if it was like on TV, even if it is like whatever those, blood pressure pill ad, and here's like 45 things, like at least it was clearly like from a drug company and had the name of the drug and had you say all these different things at the end. But in social media, it's extremely hard to even know if you're being marketed to, if that's truly a mom just telling her opinion, or if it's a paid actor who looks like a mom saying very specific words from somebody who spent $1 million to find out the exact hook that like brings people in. It's
Mhm.
really scary to get, I think, your information from social media. And yet it's so interesting, Andrea, because it's like that's what me and Megan do, right? Like we're trying to figure this out ourselves, where we like podcasts because it's kind of just like here's people, here's their opinions, you guys make your own decision. But from like our point of view, what do you think we could do better to try and like empower people and not like exploit people? Because I have a hard time like trying to draw the line with social media because it's so freaking hard. Like you want to get your information out there and you don't want it to reach two
Yeah.
people, but then on
We
this
yeah, we encountered this with we wanted to get info about California maternity leave out
Mhm.
because the EDD, California's department like wasn't doing a good enough job. People just had like no idea. But then we're like, okay, but the only way to get people to watch this, okay, of course you can pay for it, but that would be self-sponsored. Two is make it go viral. But then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like trying to get things to go viral, you're tricking people psychologically to keep watching so they get the info. And then you're like, how do I do this without using scare tactics, without like,
Yeah.
like so it's tough. So like if you were to write a guide for a corporation on how to not
Yeah, what's the best way to do it the most ethically?
Well, I just want to add, like, as far as their targeting or whatever, they are targeting breastfeeding moms, so that's what we have an issue with.
Mhm.
Um, they have opened a market, whereas these other formulas, I don't think they went there. They just kind of they did your old school, still completely false, misleading, but they did like this is your formula for colic and gas and
Mm.
softer poops. Like that's their selling point sometimes. We have seen like big influencers openly talk about their struggles with breastfeeding, and then like a week later they'll say in their stories like, "Oh, Bobby sent me a can of formula to try out, blah 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 blah." So they must have someone on their team that's actively searching out people that are struggling with breastfeeding. So we find that extremely concerning and unethical. If they were to just focus on their qualities of their formula, because when they first came out, I was kind of like on board because I saw they first marketed themselves as like, we're the European style formula from the US, which before like all the crunchy moms were getting like hip and hall from from like Germany, and that was like the crunchy choice. So then Bobby came out. I was like, "Oh,
I got
cool.
that.
There's going to be there's going to be a new." Yeah, you got
Crunchy.
that? um I was like, "Oh, cool. There's going to be like a better formula." But then they started with their, breastfeeding bashing. So we would just like them to stop trashing breastfeeding in their marketing and just focus on their ingredients. Even though marketing a formula at all is supposed to be unethical, if they're going to do it, we would just like them to stop, degrading breastfeeding, and also stop distributing misinformation about breastfeeding um, in their
So
marketing
like
in order
basic
to
shit.
profit off of moms. Yeah.
Basic shit.
Okay, I didn't know if I could swear. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds
So
like be more conscientious to who you're marketing to, and don't market to desperate people who it's going to harm them. Talk about quality, and
yeah.
try not to separate mom from the baby. Try to support women.
So August is World Breastfeeding Month. It starts August 1st. I don't know when this is going to air, but we are going to post a picture of ourselves nursing and tagging Bobby. We did it last year. We had over 100 moms participate.
Oh, cool.
Tagged Bobby and wrote them an open letter asking to um, stop trashing breastfeeding in their marketing. And they definitely took notice because they tried to get our hashtag banned, which is back off Bobby is our hashtag. And so, yeah, we've just continued with the campaign kind of all year, trying to get their attention. And again, we're going to do it on August 1st. So even if this airs after August 1st, you can still post a picture with the hashtag back off Bobby if you want to get involved. You can also follow Rad Moms Union on Instagram too, because we have been like yelling into the void about this stuff on social media and in our Substack for far too long. So we decided to kind of try to get moms together who care about this issue and actually like do something about it.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah, tell us more about like Rad Moms Union. I just think it's awesome, and like what other things are you guys doing, and if how can people support you?
Yeah, so Radical Moms Union started as just a Substack. So if you don't know what Substack is, it's just like a blog and it has different subscription levels. And me and my co-founder and I, Natasha Vargas Cooper, we write about these issues, like you said in the beginning, like corporate forces versus mother baby, whether that be sleep training, um, formula, anything like the snoo, I don't know, like everything. Um, Ballerina Farm is one of our most popular articles. So we just write about, and I like writing about like motherhood in the online space too.
Mm-hmm.
So you can subscribe to that. I'll give you guys the link. And then, yeah, like I said, we're heading a campaign for Bobby to, like I said, stop trashing breastfeeding in their marketing. And we have different arms of our group that focus on different things like podcasting, like I'm doing right now, and making content and getting and researching. So we have like regular meetings to join and recruit, but the first step would, like I said, definitely be going to that Substack and signing up and following us on social media. And you can post your boob picture in August.
Yeah, heck yes.
It can be an old picture too. It doesn't have to be like current.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the links to all that in the podcast description too.
Perfect. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Andrea, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about all these amazing issues. We're so proud of the work you do as as a lactation consultant and member of Radical Moms Union. We know you have a lot going on this month, so yes, we hope to share some of our boob pictures, and hopefully Bobby in America will get its act together and be a little bit less intense with their marketing towards moms, because my goodness, we could get a break somewhere, I think. But
yeah. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raising Mama podcast. Your presence means a lot, and we hope you found our discussion insightful.
To become a part of our community, follow us on Instagram at Raising Mama Podcast. Explore resources on the Raising Mama Village located at www.raisingmama.com.
You're never alone on this motherhood journey. We're here to support you every step of the way.